So, but why stories? Why do we use stories when we are trying to create an image destination? A destination image, sorry. People have had an oral tradition for a very long time. So this is a picture of tradition in Slovenia. You know, Slovenia is a country where we grow mostly corn. Corn is big in our country. And before all the machines, how it was done? Corn was collected by hand and then cleaned by hand. And it was boring if you didn't have anyone to do it with you. So the whole village actually moved from one house to another, and they were doing it collectively. Why? Because they could talk to each other, they could tell stories, they could laugh, they could have fun, and at the end they would drink and have a party. So, but this is the oral tradition, this is the way that we're using storytelling in our specific Slovene history, and each country has its own. Each country has its own specifics how they were using it. The second reason is, do you remember I said that the minimal definition of a story is the answer to a question of what happened? And we are using stories to communicate. For example, this little girl fell. And what happened? She would say, "Mommy, I fell." And she would already use the minimal definition of a story. But as you grow older, of course, you start to elaborate them more. The story grows bigger, it includes more elements, but still the stories are the basics of our communication. We understand the world through stories, all the myths. So how was the world created? We needed a story for us to understand it. Well, it doesn't matter if it's factual or not, it's still a story. It helps us to grasp our world around us. And we define cause and effect through stories. So this happened first and this happened later. So that's why we see, okay, cause and effect. Okay, that's how we actually then can understand the world through them. We socialize through stories. So there was an interesting research. They compared how Chinese families and European American families use storytelling to their children. And what they learned is that Chinese families use storytelling to transfer more moral values and social norms, so your responsibility towards the society. While European American families use them more for entertainment and as affirmation, to bring up their kids' self-esteem. So, well, stories entertain us. Main reason. So stories are what makes our world interesting. Imagine going to movies to see a movie without a storyline. How would such a movie look like? We can well, it can look, it can be boring, but it's really difficult for us to even imagine it. How would it look like? I can think of, for example, of just putting pictures together and you would be really confused what they mean, or you would just enjoy watching the pictures, but it wouldn't really be a proper story, or someone would just tell you facts. But I doubt that kind of a movie would be very popular, since we really want to have stories and interesting ones, and that is. And finally, why are we using stories when we try to form a destination image? So why are, for example, stories a very good element of a destination image formation? Well, they persuade us. And we'll talk about a research here. It was done by Polyrat et al. In 2007. And what they've done is they have compared two types of advertisements. They made up their own product. It was for a phone and for sunglasses. And they asked people, at the end asked people about what they think of the products. But they compared, the first one is an advertisement that's factual. So what it's doing is, it's telling you, perhaps you're looking for a cell phone that makes it easy to access the internet. If so, consider the all-new RM6000 cell phone. And what it does, the factual line, it just tells you what are all the advantages of the product. And then they've taken the same product, the same advantages, but they've packed it into a story. And the story starts with a character. Garrett planned a great night out. He and his date met at Ocean Club, but the line was too long. His fun night could have been ruined. Fortunately, he had his internet-ready all-new RM6000 cell phone and all that. It has a character, it has a plot, it has conflict. Ooh, but fortunately there's this magical tool and all will be settled. And it really sounds familiar, doesn't it? For example, if you think about a commercial about laundry detergent, it almost always follows the same storyline. Oh my god, the clothes are dirty. Oh, fortunately I have this wonderful detergent here and it will all get white and clean and wonderfully smelly, or in a good way. So, but the point of the research was that later they asked people, how to evaluate a product, and here they would use a 7-point scale, and they would ask people to rate the phone, whether it is extremely low or high in quality, whether it's poor or excellent value, whether it would be worthwhile of a purchase or not worthwhile of a purchase, appealing or unappealing, etc. And at the same time, they also asked them about their ad message involvement, primarily how much they were involved in the whole, how interesting they thought that the advertisement was. And this was asked again on a 7-point scale, and whether people paid attention to the advertisement or did not pay attention. Were involved, not involved, were interested or not interested. And this is what they found out. Basically, the type of the advertisement has an effect on product evaluation. Which one do you think caused the product to be better evaluated? The point that I want to talk about here is the story. So I guess you figured it out. So the story advertisement had resulted in a better product evaluation. But why? Because it resulted in a better ad message involvement. So the story caused people to pay more attention to the advertisement, and that then caused for people to evaluate the product better. And if you can see, there's a larger model here. For example, there are some moderators within this text, like for example, use of first person versus third person, or use of different situations, or also use of different type of consumers. These are all different types of information you can use within the storytelling. Or you can also measure other ad effectiveness measurements, not just product evaluation or ad message involvement, but for example, recall of the advertisement. How do you remember it? Or attitude towards the advertisement, or purchase intention. So not just, oh, I think the phone is great, but also questions about, do you plan to actually buy it? So